you to me. I talked to her. She's kind of been like a life coach in a way to me through the years. And she recommended you to me when I was telling her about all of my issues with self-esteem and body image and all that. And then I heard about you again. I was already listening to you anyway, but when I did the HCG protocol, I I followed HCG Chica online, and she mentioned you a couple of times too, but that was old news at that point.
Yeah. So where are you at now, and what are your? It sounds like you're.
I don't know. I listened to one of your more recent posts on Patreon, on the Patreon account, yesterday or the day before, and you were talking to a girl about like, are you in step 1 or 2 or 3? And I just thought, I don't know. I feel like I go back and forth. I don't know. I don't know where I'm at. I feel like some days I'm doing really well and I feel confident and I feel happy, and then other days I feel like complete shit, just totally depressed, and I don't know.
Well, I think what you need to do is look at what's underneath it. So you clearly can tell, okay, you're kind of back maybe in a place in your life where if you try to continue to lose weight, what happens? If you choose to accept your weight, what happens? Right? Are you in that place where you're really looking at it from a distance?
Yes, I think so. So my wedding pictures came in last week, and that seeing those threw me into depression, like, bad.
Okay, so what that tells me is, have you really accepted the body you're in?
No, I haven't.
No, and that's okay. That's okay, but you can see why, if you've accepted an idea of a different body, why that is better, and you believe it's better, right? The idea of a different body that is better, and you believe that different body is going to bring you all sorts of awesome benefits because of the way it looks, the way it functions, then you would look at the way your body is, in fact is, and then you could see why you'd be like a victim. Because because there's no like, you lose those benefits, right? There's the idea of a thinner, better body with benefits, and then there's the real body you have that doesn't have those benefits.
Yes, and it is very much a victim mentality. I try to be very self-aware when I can feel myself going into that mode, but I don't always catch it.
Well, it's hard, don't you agree? Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, even when I was feeling so depressed the 2 days that I felt like that, I just couldn't. I was like, I know why. I don't know. I guess I just had these expectations of what my pictures were going to look like and what I thought my body looked like.
So, but because you were probably in that space of your wedding and the meaning and the purpose and the integrity and the intention of it, right? So you were really, it sounds like, so then there's this facade, right?
Yeah.
The facade meaning there's a picture of it. Does the picture do how you felt about it in the moment? Do the pictures do it justice?
No.
And could they ever?
No. No, it's a very much flat 2D representation of
what you experienced.
Amazing. Yeah.
So which one deserves more credibility? Which one's
definitely the experience.
Okay, is more true. So the other thing is, why is the look so degrading to the experience then? Because you looked at your pictures and they felt horrible.
Yeah, I felt some of them I really liked, and some of them I thought, oh my gosh, this would be perfect if I wasn't in it, or if I could just smooth out my back fat roll, or
Got it. So really what this comes down to, and you know, I know that you've probably heard my YouTube videos where I talk about thin supremacy and the idea that thinner is the symbolic of superior. So if you believe that, you truly believe that in your heart and your soul, what happens when you see that the body you're in has body fat? You're disgust. Yes. So that disgust and hatred, where does it really come from? Does it come from the body? Does it come from the fat? Is the fat making you feel that way? Or is it the belief that thinner bodies are superior bodies and they symbolize betterment? Really, it's a matter of status symbol.
Yeah, definitely. And it is the belief.
Okay, about status, yeah. This is I've just completed writing this section on supremacy and what it is. Really, it's just an idea that people can be graded and put on a scale in order of importance. And the idea is that if you meet these social ideals or cultural systems, the closer you meet these goals or ideals, the higher you're placed on this order of importance to society. Right? And so the reason why you're feeling such dissonance and discontent, disgust, total disgust with your wedding pictures, with your body really, is the fact that you believe that your body is an indication that you are a bad person. And who wants that attachment to something so enjoyable or so important as a wedding? Oh, look, there's that bad person who's inferior, who sucks, who shouldn't even be getting married.
Yeah.
What does that totally? What does that have to do with you?
Nothing.
I know.
Reality.
I know, because are you really disgusting? Are you a disgusting person that is unworthy of that experience?
No.
I know you hear that and you're like, you say that intellectually, but when you see a picture of your body and the first thing you feel is embarrassment and disgust, what are your real feelings?
Yeah, exactly.
So which one is more relevant? So I think this is where your struggle is you still believe in that thinner supremacy. And so what you're doing is you're repressing the fact that you still believe. And a lot of my followers do this, by the way, because you know it's wrong. You intellectually know it's wrong. You feel that it's wrong, right?
Yeah.
It's terrible. What person should be defined, right? Their entire worth, their life's worth to culture and to people and to your family is based on the fact that on this scale of, physical attractiveness, and keep in mind, everybody's view of what that is different, but based on thinner supremacy, your entire value of life is seen as completely worthless. Like you're empty. You might as well be not in the picture, and that's where those feelings are coming from. I wish I could take myself out of the picture.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And it's crazy to me because I do not think about other people like that. In fact, when I see an overweight person, especially a woman, I just feel this instant connection or bond. Like, I get it. I know what you're going through. I know how, I don't know. And I just.
Well, that sounds like co-victimization. That sounds like there's a smidge of co-victimization in there, meaning like, I know how hard your life is. I know, you know, versus, oh, I hope that she doesn't buy into the baggage because her life is amazing if she could get past it. Feel the difference between...
I've never even seen that before.
Right? Because you still believe in your heart and soul that thinner people are better people. Their life is easier. Their life is more magical. They are more, everything's better for them. Everything. Their poop is better.
Yeah.
That's the illusion. That's an illusion, right? That's like, that's an assumption you're making.
Yeah.
So,
based off my feelings, my perception.
Well, pause for a second. You're correct. You're perceiving it that way, but why? Did you create the whole concept of thin supremacy? Like, you created it? Like, are these your thoughts?
No.
It's
a thing I bought into.
It's a cultural dogma.
Yeah.
Have you watched any of the YouTube videos where I talk about foot binding?
Yes, that was to get myself out of that depression those 2 days. I just started watching your videos, and one of the first ones was you talked about that, and that just hit home to me.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense.
Right. You can have a lot of compassion for the women over 1,000 years. Think of how many generations believed this, enforced it on their daughters, despite the fact that they they can't walk. They can't take care of themselves. They become hostages. In their superior, my feet are smaller than yours. And you would, if you were in that era, you would be yearning for her small feet. Did you see the smallness of her feet in her wedding pictures? Mine are so fat. I just want to cut the picture off. Even though you're disabled too. You're completely disabled because you bound your feet too. But yet you're living in shame because they're not just small enough.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they're filling with fluid because they're so inflamed. And that's a sign that you're a personal piece of shit. And imagine those girls actually believing that about themselves.
Stupid when you, it's not even logical when you really break it down. And I'm aware of that.
Right.
I just don't know how
to get rid of it.
Myself, yeah.
Well,
I thought at one point I had, but.
Well, it's a process. I really believe it is a process because it isn't just thinner supremacy. There's a lot of meanings and symbolisms that are, it's not just my feet are smaller than yours, go suck it. It's my feet are smaller than yours, which means I worked harder than you. My feet are smaller than yours, which means I have higher pain tolerance than you. My feet are smaller than yours, which means I wanted it more. I'm not lazy. So there's all these symbols that being thinner today are very similar in that I'm healthier than you, which is freaking funny because the science around that thought in and of itself is very narcissistic, which means that person comes with a whole lot of baggage psychologically. Right? Just that right there. That's just that. It doesn't really talk about, well, actually, the more you restrict food, the more sensitive your body gets to food, the more likelihood you're going to have psychological compensations and desires to overeat, the more likely you are to actually have social issues. Just consider the concept of well-being. Is it really healthier to promote thinner supremacy? Is it really healthier if someone's thinner and then promotes themselves as healthy because of it? Just a thought, let's look at the big picture here. Are they really healthy? Are they really happy if they're promoting it? What are they doing to maintain that thinness? Are they really well-rounded when all they talk about is how scared and terrified they are of the downsides of sugar,
Oh my God.
They're like,
yes.
So there's this
around people like that.
Well, they truly have the same issues you do. They believe in the same system, but they have succeeded at it. And so they're actually far worse. I hate to break it to you. Because they have paranoia and even more isolation, just trying to maintain the facade. They're more likely to puke their food up when they eat. They're more likely to have damaging exercise abuses. Yeah. Not to say that.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever.
Right.
Exercising too much.
Hey, you know what? If I could snap my fingers and give you the wedding of your dreams, based on just the look. So keep in mind that means your wedding's about the way you look. It's not actually about the wedding.
Yeah.
Just so you know. So it's probably not going to be as great as the one you experienced. Mm-hmm. So if I could do that for you, and it required, all you got to do is exercise for 2 hours every day, just to maintain it.
Oh.
You telling me you wouldn't do that?
I would not do that.
Well,
I just know myself, and every time I commit to something like that, I know I'll never follow through.
Well, let me make sure I ask the question. If I could snap my fingers and you could be in that body right now, what would you be willing to do just to maintain it?
Oh,
to keep it, to hold it.
I don't know. I guess I've never really thought about it because I haven't thought about once I get there, what will it take?
Well, let's go through it. Let's really forecast it. Put yourself in the mind of achieving the ideal body and being on that pedestal and being worshipped and feeling like I've made it. And now you have to keep it. So you've been gifted what you thought you wanted.
Okay, so, well.
Now what?
It would require exercise, I'm sure, which I would have to, that would be the hardest part for me, I think.
Okay, so if you know that about yourself, what do you have to do with the food then? If you know you can't rely on exercise to maintain it, what are you going to have to do with your food?
It would be very restricted.
Oh,
very.
Okay. And what do you think that's going to do to your social engagement, your social life? And think about all the...
A lot of resentment, bitterness, anger.
Oh, but you're thin.
Because yeah.
You achieved it. You proved it. So now what?
Then I get to, I just think I would be miserable.
You'd probably binge, thinking I'll fix it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yep. And now does that sound familiar? Sound familiar now?
It does.
Oh, that's how you got where you're at.
Yes, it is.
So what do you think
exactly.
Right. So the problem is that this idea, now imagine how different your life would be if we could erase the importance of body image from your life. So it just becomes irrelevant. Gosh. It's just totally irrelevant. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to change your body, but we're changing. So one of the ways I've done this, I've described this to other people, is imagine God comes down and says, dude, you're ruining, your whole purpose is not about your fat. Your body's supposed to be like this. Just get over it. You have a real purpose here. Your body's physiology is meant to work the way it's supposed to. In history, people have more fat, and your body is actually more equipped to deal with starvation. So get over it. But that's not supposed to be what this life was about. You're here for a different reason. Stop focusing on it. It's irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
How would that feel?
Amazing. Like the best gift ever.
So then how would you feel about your wedding pictures?
I would love them.
Right?
I feel like I could appreciate, even though they don't show the whole picture. Of course they can't, but I would actually appreciate them and like them.
You'd be pumped. They would be. You would go, oh, I remember this. It was so great.
Yes.
So imagine.
Instead, right.
Okay. You feeling how different this feels when your weight is completely irrelevant to your life and your purpose and what you bring to your own personal life. Like, is there any?
I don't even know. I feel like I spend my whole day worrying about my body and my weight.
Distraction.
What would I even think about?
It's such a distraction. Well, and imagine how depressing that is.
Yeah. How much time I've wasted.
You're still alive. Here we are. You have the body that you're in is providing you good quality life. You're conscious. It's talking for you. Your brain is working so fast and so easily and so intellectually. You know, that's just, it is what it is. You didn't even do that. It's just doing that for you. What are you going to do with it? So you've been so distracted with, I have to fix my weight. I have to fix my weight. Well, hello. No, you don't. It's not important. What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do?
I have no idea. I've never thought about my life beyond, I've just thought, okay, fix this problem first, and then we'll figure out the rest.
No, that sucks, doesn't it? Because you're paused, your whole life is put on pause, right? And the crazy thing is the more you try, the harder it gets, the further away the mirage gets. So you're chasing this mirage, thinking that's what you got to do first. When I get to the mirage, then I'll be open to do what I want. So you're so fixated on this goal that moves away from you as you get closer. And not only that, but in order to reach it, you have to starve yourself, which is inhumane, unrealistic. That's like telling someone in order for you to be approved of, you need to only get 2 to 3 hours of sleep every night. If you sleep more than that, we're going to judge you. And you go, yes, that's the goal. I want to be in the cool club of non-sleepers. This is so funny to me because food and the need for food is really kind of like how your body responds to the need for sleep. The less sleep you get, the more tired you get. And then someone out there is going to go, oh, wow, you have narcolepsy.
That's so interesting. I've never thought about it in that way before, but it is a really good parallel to it.
Right? And then they're going to say, well, there's something wrong with you because you keep on falling asleep during the day, you piece of shit. You're supposed to be awake and alive. And what you don't know, you have no self-control, even though you're falling asleep. And it sounds like you're addicted to sleeping. Oh my God. And then because you've already fallen asleep, you've already got more than 5 hours, you're like, I might as well sleep all the way through because I know I'm not going to get any sleep the next day or the next day or the next day. So you spend every day trying to sleep before you go back into your sleep deprivation. You piece of crap. And then you start feeling bad about yourself.
Wow. That's so perfect.
It sounds so stupid, doesn't it?
It does.
I know. You realize that the models that were used, that are typically used as the ideal, are they're like 20% underweight. Did you know that anorexia, one of the clinical diagnoses, one of them is 15% underweight? So the models used as the inspiration are 5% leaner than what they need to be anorexic.
Wow.
Yeah. That's your goal. And they're healthier, right? That's so healthy.
Yeah.
And the fitness models are buffed out and they're like 6% body fat. So a lot of them don't even have their periods and they end up with cysts. So they have PCOS and how lean they are.
And I'm like, I have PCOS, but on the opposite.
Yes, and that's what happens on the extreme ends. Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've always wondered how it is that thinner women can possibly have PCOS. I've heard of it. I know a girl that did, but I didn't know why. That's so interesting.
Stress, and it's a syndrome. It's a syndrome, right? So it's not just one thing. It's a combination of things. But yeah. You know,
So,
and all the research is showing too, it's like actually being slightly overweight is healthier than underweight and sedentary. Or just,
yeah, well, and I'm overweight and sedentary.
so that brings a different mix. I mean, you're more likely, especially if you're stressed out, to have diabetes because of the stress response. My body goes into diabetes when I'm under stress too. I just don't have as much fueling mechanisms to produce that because I don't have as much fat. So I'm less likely. Although so that's the downside of not exercising, because with exercise, you're using the fuel that your stress is creating, right? Simple solution.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're digressing from the actual underlying issues here, because all of this conversation is just like, it's really useless if you feel horrible about yourself for something so dumb as thinner supremacy. I'm telling you, there's going to be, we're going to come out of this stage and it's going to be like, oh my God, they used to wear like, what are they called? Corsets?
Oh.
Or Fitbits. Yeah, that's just a controlling mechanism. It's just a bunch of, but yeah, it's like wanting to measure how much you've bound your feet today. Ooh, I bounded a little bit more. Oh my God.
Yep, exactly. So, I have a question. So I work for an insurance company, and we sell all of the lines, life health, all of that. So I've been really afraid to apply for any other life insurance policies or health insurance, like a short-term disability policy and all of that. But I got brave one day and applied for a short-term disability policy, and it was denied. I got a nice big email, and my agent saw it, my boss, and it was denied due to height and weight. And so now I have, on the life insurance, I'm trying to increase it just to have a little bit more, and they're doing my vitals tomorrow, so I'm doing blood, urine, height, weight, and I am like terrified. And I got that note that I was denied that policy on one of the 2 days when I was feeling really, really depressed. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This is like in black and white, something telling me that I'm not good enough, that I don't deserve it.
This is good for you to face this. Yeah. And the height and weight chart is such a bunch of bullshit. It's so stupid.
That's kind of what I tried to tell myself, but
I know, but you believe it to some degree. This is just evidence. It's like your feet. Okay, foot binding. 3 inches was ideal. Just so you know.
That's insane.
Okay. So if you had 5-inch foot, it was seen, even though you bound yourself and you have all of the scars and all of the damage and all of the work, you're a piece of shit. So basically someone said, your feet are too big. Sorry. And your feet are too big. That's the truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The question you have to ask yourself is this worth defining my entire life? If it is true, so I think what you're being really asked to do by reality here is this worthy of shame? Because you're feeling shame about it. Is it worthy? You have to question the dogma that you've been taught, that you believed in, that you think. If you allow this to continue to be a source of how you're defined negatively, how's that going to help anything? I mean, I think what has to happen here is you really need to hit a bottom. Right? Because you keep on doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And the result and the shame, what does that ultimately end in? I'm going to fix this.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you need to do to fix this? Just feel that out for a second. Does it feel like you're being suffocated?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what it feels like.
It's
because it's
stressful.
overwhelming.
My heart rate is, yes.
Yeah, and now you have
just thinking about it, I can feel like twisted up. My insides is anxious, anxiety.
Yep. And that response is so normal. Mine would be the same way. You know. But the problem is, you know how unrealistic it is. And it's like saying, hey, you're going to have to go into a third world country and be happy about it. While we all live in a world of gluttony, you get to be around us while we're shoving our food in our face. You get to starve yourself for like 5 straight years. Yeah. So do you see why you're like, oh my God, it's so overwhelming. And it has to be done so perfectly. You know what I mean? I could see why you're like, fuck it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. But you still hold yourself to that belief. So the question I think you need to ask yourself is, what is the truth of your body at this point? If damages are done metabolically, okay, what is the natural truth of your body if you were to just accept it as it is and let it do what it wants?
I don't know. I guess if I just accepted it, I don't know, because I feel like, well, if I do that, then I'm going to gain more weight. And
well, are you telling me that
I don't know.
If you really think you're going to gain more weight because that's just what your body does?
Well, instantly I want to say yes, but then I think back to when I was first off of the HCG, the whole protocol. I was at a steady weight, like, for at least like 6 weeks. For the first time, I think, ever. I mean, it felt like ever, but I never weighed myself as much as I did when I was in that. To know. So I know that it's possible for me to just kind of just be.
Okay, so imagine that you go blind. Let's just say you lose your eyesight. What would happen to this whole obsession, really?
I guess it becomes a moot point because I can't see. I mean, I guess I can feel.
Yeah, but what is the... Yeah, you can. You can feel your clothes, you can feel your body, you can feel everything. So that doesn't change. But now you can't, you literally cannot see. It's blacked out. What happens to this obsession?
I feel like I would just try to transfer it to measuring how lumpy I am with I don't know.
Well, be realistic, because you're laughing at yourself, because that doesn't sound realistic either. Sounds a little stupid.
Yeah, no, it
So,
doesn't.
like, think of this. Really go into this, like, seriously now. If you were to go blind and couldn't see your body, can't see food anymore, can't see how much food, can't see other people, can't see you can't see anything. What would happen to this obsession of yours about your weight?
I think it would go away, because if I couldn't, I mean, I would have to rely on my senses. I mean,
what would happen to the importance of your weight?
It wouldn't matter, because I couldn't see how I looked. I couldn't see other people if they were judging me. I couldn't. It would just take that element away.
That would become unimportant. And then tell me how that would impact your relationship with food.
I feel like I would just be normal with food.
Don't you?
Because, I mean, there wouldn't be any, it would just be fuel that tastes good.
Yeah. And when you're hungry, you'd be like, I need to eat. You'd just imagine what the experience of eating would feel like. Be so much more engaged, right? With the mouth and the food.
Yes. Yeah. And the taste and the texture.
Yeah. And what would happen when you're done eating? Now what? What? It's over. You don't even know how much food is left.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Then what?
Judge, I'm like, golly. And then I would just not think about it again. I guess until I was hungry.
And then you'd be like, okay, we're at a restaurant. Okay, what sounds good, you guys? Can you read it to me?
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, and you don't know how much is given to you. You're just, you're tasting it each bite, savoring every bite. Notice how.
Really experiencing it.
Yeah, no shame, no guilt. That's gone. You could sense that right away, right?
Yeah.
And then what? I mean, so what would your life be about? What would you make your life about? What would bring you joy?
I don't even know. I guess just being around the people that I love and just
really connecting, maybe reading books like or on audio. You're wanting to hear what really connecting with life and what life is about. What is life about? And so notice how your life would be just by making your eyes stop working. What would happen to this problem?
That's crazy how much it would change.
Yeah, you would instantaneously recover.
Yeah.
Because there's no point. Why would it be important? So what do you think the way to recover is? That was pretty obvious, right? Instantaneously.
Yeah.
Remember when I said if God came down and said, hey, Abby, you're wasting your time. I really don't care about your weight. It's not important.
So, yeah, it would just be, you would just have to accept it. And I don't know.
And what happens once you accept it for what it is?
It just isn't anymore.
You have all this, it's not your business anymore. Yeah. It's like, okay, it's not my job. I'll just trust that it works. I'll eat when I'm hungry. I'll eat what sounds good to me. It's not worth feeling bad about. Do you want to eat until you're full?
Not miserable. I mean, I want to eat enough so that I don't feel hunger pains anymore.
Yeah, that's good. Right, so doesn't that sound pretty normal, right? Like, well, that's normal. Mm-hmm. Right, so do we know how much food that is? Or can you just listen to the body like you're blind?
Yeah, I would just have to listen.
Yeah, and then when you're not hungry anymore, what are you going to do with yourself?
Go read a book with my eyes.
Yeah, now you get to use your eyeballs and read. So do you see what happens when this is made like unimportant? Not important, not going to happen. So one of the ways we do that is by making it not happen. You're not going to be thinner than this. So let's go into accepting that. What is the benefit of you just accepting the body the way it is with all of its genetics? If it's been irreparably damaged, the damage has been done. Lesson learned. Do you want to obsess about your weight? Is that really what you want to do? And that has been the source and the driver of your weight gain?
And no, and it's just when you put it like that, it just sounds so narcissistic. It's like it makes me think of a person who's obsessed with their muscles. And
yes, it's exactly the same. How it's not.
I can't stand people like that.
Okay, well, you're just recognizing your own problems. You just didn't see it in that. Like they're taking their body and saying it's a horrible thing because the muscles aren't big enough. But yet, you give yourself some compassion for how you got here, for one.
Yeah.
This wasn't a lack of effort. This wasn't a lack of wanting it. This wasn't a lack of. You've been obsessive.
Yeah.
Obsessive. You ever think that might be the problem?
Maybe so.
What happens to your issues with food, okay, if we can just remove thinness from your life forever?
It just wouldn't matter. I mean,
it depressurizes, right? There's no pressure.
Yes.
Don't you agree that?
Exactly. That's the perfect word.
Right? So because you could say when we pressurize your food intake by you shouldn't eat that, you can't eat that, that's bad, you've eaten too much, you've ruined it, what happens to your food intake?
It increases.
Yep.
Like exponentially.
Yep. You got it. Like big time.
Yeah, because like even last night when I had Hersheys Kisses, then that wasn't enough. I wanted something.
Because you already ruined it.
And I thought, and I was like, I shouldn't have this. I shouldn't do this. I know I'm not hungry, but maybe I'm a little bit hungry. Am I? Then I try to trick myself into thinking I'm hungry. But,
yeah. Okay. Well, tell me this. So those Hersheys Kisses, if your weight was not important, didn't need to be fixed, it's never going to be fixed, what would have happened to your desire for those Hersheys Kisses? Just feel this out.
I wouldn't have even gotten them because I wasn't hungry.
Yeah, and you can get them anytime you really want them. If you really,
yeah.
For the rest of your life. There's Hershey Kisses everywhere for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Do you need to eat them all right now?
No.
Only if you're going to diet soon.
Mm-hmm.
That pressure?
Yeah. Yep.
That pressure is why you're overeating in the moment.
Yeah, because I've had in the back of my mind, oh, well, I'll do the HCG student, I'll do that because I need to lose weight so I can have a baby, get pregnant, stay pregnant. And so I'll be doing that soon. And then I try to, no, that's not why I'm doing this. That's not why I'm doing this. And then,
Pressure goes up, and then what happens? So then you have all this food intake that's counter to your ultimate goal, like completely counter conflicting.
Yeah.
And then you feel terrible about yourself.
Yes, like complete shit. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Like you're a horrible human being. But are you really, or are you just responding like all the skinny girls do? The same exact skinny girls who are getting ready to lose weight because they think they're not thin enough. And they're like, 14 years old, and they're just beginning to do it. What are they going to do at that moment before they know they're going to go on a sugar cleanse with their mom in 3 weeks? What do you think they're going to do between now and then? Same thing you do.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Doesn't matter how much body fat you have. That's a psychological response. You can see in your history you were doing this when you were thin.
I was, absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember. I mean, I've done it. I've been chubby since 3rd grade. And my whole life, I've hit food or gotten, I don't know.
Well, what if I were to say, hey, girl, it's time to stop. It's time. Your body is not relevant. It is not important. Damage has been done. You can either continue to do the same thing you've always done, which you'll get what you got, or you can just put your white flag up, surrender, admit failure. This has been a total failure. This isn't what you wanted to do with this life. This isn't where you wanted to go, but it is what it is. So you can either wash your hands, accept your body right now, or you can keep on imposing an impending famine because you have to be thinner. Right?
It just and it strikes me how narcissistic that is to just,
well, it's in self-preservation, right? So self-centered and self-preservation. So it sounds like to me this is narcissistic, absolutely, but you're trying to survive.
Yeah.
And you think that losing weight will give you that survival. But how does that work when to lose weight you have to restrict your food, which is kind of anti-survival?
Yeah.
That makes sense? It's like saying you can only sleep 2 to 3 hours a night. It's anti-life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what if you were to just be done with this. Like a blind person. Like, you're blind. My weight is irrelevant at this point.
I mean, God, it sounds amazing. It would just be so
freeing.
free.
Yeah, it'd be like saying, hey, you're done. You're done. You don't ever have to do this again.
Yeah.
But Robin, I'm fat and ugly. No one's going to like me.
So
your likelihood of actually getting pregnant will be much higher if you quit trying to lose weight.
I was just about to ask you about that. That's what I was about to say.
Totally. Just quit. And you do have to surrender to the fact that you might never have a kid.
Yeah.
Face those fears. Face those insecurities.
I have one at least, but I just want more.
Yeah, but face that, because that is a risk, or that is a truth, that it might be out there. You might be done forever. Face it now so that the pressure goes away, because ultimately what you're doing is not getting you closer. It's a repellent. Can you tell you just shoved a bunch of Reese's Pieces in your mouth when you have PCOS? How's that working for your pregnancy? Right? It's repellent.
No good.
So let's just cry, okay? And let yourself fail. This has been, your obsession with your weight has been a complete and total failure. And you know what? It's not because you didn't try. It's not because you didn't want it. It's not because you didn't want it enough. In fact, you wanted it so much that it became a terrible thing. Obsessive. To the point where your food restrictions became so unrealistic, you had binge eating problems. I mean, that's so understandable, right? It's like a tragedy. This is a tragedy. It makes no sense. It does not calculate out. The effort you've put into this should equate to you should be thin now.
After I'm 34, so what, 20-some years of
obsessing about it, being defined by it. Your whole life has been dedicated to this. Is this what your life's supposed to be about? Is this it?
No.
So at what point do you throw your hands up and say, I quit. I'm done. I'm done. And the body is the way it is, and it's good enough. Is it good or is it not good? I mean, is it good enough or is it not? I don't, you tell me. I mean, if you are willing to accept it, right? Like you had said earlier, I just have to accept that. Yes. Once you accept it and you accept people's ignorance about it. You know how many people are going to be ignorant about your choice?
Oh, very.
So many people.
I know I'm going to get major judgment.
Yeah, but do they understand that by letting it go, your food intake is actually going to subside?
Yeah.
Because it's going to be more realistic. You're going to be less pressurized, and it's going to be more realistic. So your body's going to be free to do what it does. It's going to do. You have to give it its natural state. And the only way to do that is to accept that it might not lose weight. Right? Because isn't that the fear? Yeah. You might. And the funny thing is, I know when you hear this, it sounds so not intelligent. You might gain weight by quitting. You and I both know if you quit trying to lose weight, that means that you quit all diets. And what happens to you can't eat this, you can't eat that, this food is bad, this food's good. No, you can't. What happens to that?
Goes away.
Yeah, so what's the likelihood you're going to binge? Or even emotionally eat?
I won't need to.
There's no pressures. There's no, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't. No, because you know what? You're done permanently. So there is no point to it. There's no, why would you do that to yourself? That's ridiculous. Have a cookie. And why would you eat so much that you're full? You can have more later. That makes no sense to do that.
Right.
It only makes sense when you can't have any more and you've already ruined the day. Now it makes sense to force it into your face. Right?
Yeah.
I know this sounds so counterintuitive to what I'm telling you. It really does, right? But if you go into the truth, if you quit forever trying to change your body, and you just accept this. If this is your ailment, okay, let's just say this is your life physical problem. You can either fight it or you can accept it. If you accept it, what happens?
I feel like it would be like if I like lost a finger, there would be no changing it. I mean, I would just have to learn how to live life without that finger, and people could accept me like I am, or I guess they can't. And I mean, it is what it is. There's nothing I could do, and so it would just be really, really free. I don't know. I'm just sitting here thinking, what would I do? Like, what would I go buy new clothes? Because I go buy new clothes anyway to make myself feel better. But would I go buy new clothes out of a new reason just because
you need to be comfortable?
My body and I want to look cute.
Yeah. Why not?
And I deserve to be cute and trendy and whatever. Not just shopping out of
or hiding just to hide.
Yes.
Yeah, you got it. Just think of how different your self-treatment would be if you could just accept this.
Yeah.
Damage is done. And you can say it's like war, the damage of war. I mean, you've been warring and waging war against your body for years. And has it worked out for you? Did it work out for your relationship? You know, how your relationship with food as a byproduct of that war against your body. How has that worked out?
No, not good.
Nuh-uh. So maybe this war against body fat isn't such a good idea.
Yeah. It's so weird to think of just not, I mean, I don't know, like, what if I quit and then I start obsessing again, or...
Well, if you obsess again, why would you do that?
I guess that would just mean that either I haven't truly given up my belief in Hersheys Supremacy,
and you want it. I want to be thinner!
Yeah.
And then what happens?
I'm right back where I started.
Yeah,
or maybe I've just...
See how predictable that is? Do you see how predictable that is for a second? So if you want to lose weight, what happens?
I go on a diet of some sort. And then I'm back just the same stupid.
Yeah, just by wanting to lose weight, you're already sucked in.
Yeah.
It just goes right back into the... Yeah, as soon as you say, I have to lose weight, I have to, what happens to the pressure? What happens to that freedom? Boom, it's over.
I can feel the anxiety just with the thought. I can feel it already.
Okay, so what happens when we say, you know what? Everything you're doing is failing miserably. So just accept obesity, accept the way it is, accept disease, accept a syndrome, accept it all, and let it go. This is not the purpose of your life. This isn't. This is your disease, if you want to call it that. This is your version of cancer. You get to have an obese body for the rest of your life. Are you okay with that? Can you handle that? Can you handle people being ignorant and making assumptions about you? Because you and I both know they're ignorant. They really don't know. They really don't.
It's already happening. I mean, whether I'm having that desire to lose weight or not, it is happening.
Yeah, people just don't get it. They don't get it. But you know what? Here you and I are talking, right? You and I are talking right now. And the fact that when I say to you, hey, you don't have to lose weight anymore. You can just accept your body right now. Tell me how that feels.
Like, so good. Just to
So are you saying, so other people, so other people who are ignorant, they want to take that from you and they want to put you back in the dark cell of panic attack because that's quote unquote healthy. Who knows better here what's right for you?
Me.
You're the one living in this. You're the one who's living your life. You're not living, it's not theirs. They don't own your life. Just because they can't handle it, can you handle this? Can you? They don't have to. They have their own body they got to deal with. They might get hit by a Mack truck.
Yeah.
We don't know, but your ailment is obesity. That's it. Yeah. Can you accept
really
this?
Not bad in the grand scheme of things.
Okay, see, now you're going to the next step, because once you accept it, the next thing that you do is you start questioning, really? Is this really worthy of shame? That's really fucked up. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. I have a great personality. I've got great humor. Like, why is that so, why is that seen as irrelevant, but yet my body is relevant? Like, why is the true character of me seen as completely irrelevant to the way my body looks? Why?
Yeah, and
question yourself.
The worst thing that I have to deal with is obesity, then I'm pretty lucky.
Right? I know. Considering. And if you're willing to accept and to see this isn't worthy of shame, you shouldn't be ashamed of this. Do you realize that the way your body is right now has a real story behind how it got here? When you weigh yourself, there's a story behind that number and how it got here.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
You can either forgive it, be like, holy shit, I learned my lesson. You know, if that's what had to happen for me to finally give this up, it was worth the cost. And is being obese really worthy of shame? Is your life, is the life that this obese body is providing you, is it really not worth living? Yeah. Isn't the life you have worthy of enjoying and using and creating, even if it's in a 400 pound, 300 pound body?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you have your eyesight, you have your mobility, you're still independent.
Mentally,
yeah, you're married. You guys are having sex. I mean, right there. I mean, you have so much going for you.
That's very true.
You know what I'm saying? So when you really look at the acceptance of this weight, you know what? Not everybody could handle it. They don't have the emotional strength. They don't have the, they're not evolved enough. And I think that's what this is forcing. This is forcing you to evolve. Can you grow up? Can you evolve and say, you know what? Not everybody can handle this, but I'm ready to. I'm going to sign the contract and start inhabiting this body with its body fat because the life it's giving is worth being here. It's not worth being ashamed.
It's interesting. Yes. You saying about growing up, it just makes me think, how old is the person inside of me that's really been ashamed? Like,
she's probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 years old. 8?
Yeah. 8 or 9, I think. That's when I first started gaining weight and feeling so much shame and hearing comments and going on diets with my mom.
And binging far worse. Mm-hmm.
Hiding
food. Yeah. It's so understandable too, that girl that was hiding food. Of course you're going to hide food.
Yeah. And I don't blame my mom and dad.
No.
My dad's always been heavier, but my mom's super, super tiny and obsessed with food and diet.
This is not surprising.
Myself, if there's a problem that you see that your kid has, you're going to try to fix it for them. And so I get where she was coming from.
Yeah, and she sounds like she's got some anorexic tendencies, and she's going to notice how she projected onto you her severe lack of capacity to handle it, to an extreme way and how that affected you. So you have to go, you know what? My mom, she can't handle this. That's okay. She still loves you. She just loves through thin supremacy. Can you see why you became so obsessed about this? You're really looking for love, but you know who needs to love you? You. Are you really worthy of shame because your body is the way it is right now? Is this really to you? You have to ask yourself this question because you're the only one that's holding yourself to it.
Yeah, I am.
Right?
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah, my husband certainly does not.
Yeah, what would happen if you just made a personal decision to permanently and forever divorce thin supremacy? It doesn't mean we're going to fat supremacy. You're just getting rid of all supremacy. No one should be graded. So let's just imagine that your body, because you've ignored it, you're ignoring it, you're eating to hunger, you're not worried about it, you're no longer focused on it. Let's just say you go in for your next appointment and you've lost 40 pounds. Is that something you want to get excited about? Is that something you want to think about, focus on?
No.
Me neither. It's none of your business. Body's doing what it's supposed to do. Do you really want to get involved? Do you want to claim it? You want to claim that?
No.
Yeah. So it kind of
just doing what it was meant to do.
Yeah. Do you really want to focus on your weight?
No.
Nope. Doesn't matter. So do you see how it goes all directions?
It does, and that's very eye-opening because right now, thinking about, I went to the doctor at 40 pounds. She's so impressed. And I had that experience a few months ago after I got down 30 pounds and then I gained 3 pounds back, like almost instantly. And I got to the doctor and they were like, did we put this number first? Is like wrong on the chart? Like, is this right? Where I was before, I was basically at 300 pounds, and now I'm about 275. And she was just, they were just so impressed, and that was so heady for me. And
well, and it puts pressure on you. I mean, there's a lot of pressure. So if you don't care, and you're like, they can think whatever they want. I am living my life. And if the body I'm in recovers from the years of damage I did caring about it, great. If it doesn't, I'm okay too. I am not going to waste another ounce of my life focusing on my weight, whether I'm thinner or fatter or anything in between. I don't want to care. I don't care. It's the body's job. It'll do what it needs to do. My job is to live my life. I'll eat when I'm hungry. I'm not going to live in food morality and food religion anymore. Because that ultimately is where the binging came from. Okay? Yeah. So if you eat naturally, based on your hunger rhythms, the body's going to do what it's going to do over a long period of time. But you just commit to it forever. This is where it's like, this has to be a life commitment. You have to go, I'm done. I am permanently divorcing my relationship with this thinner Mirage. I'm working with what I have right now as good enough. It's good enough. At all times, it's good enough. Oh, I'm graying. That's great. Good enough. I'm gonna... It is what it is, and you got to work with what you got right now. If you don't know how to work with what you got right now, what makes you think you're going to work with what you got 30 pounds from now?
Oh, I wouldn't, because I've been 100 pounds thinner than I am right now, and I still wasn't good enough. I was depressed because I gained 40 pounds or 25 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean,
see how that works? You want to...
No.
Do you want to obsess over your weight is this what your life's purpose is supposed to be? At some point, you have to let it go. And the risk at any point is that your body might gain and lose and gain and lose and gain and lose. Do you really want to know?
No.
So essentially, I'm suggesting go blind to it without losing your eyesight. And the only way to do that is to not care anymore. That means you have to not care that someone thinks you're lazy, not care that that someone thinks that you're a bad person. Like, you have to go, you have to recognize that they are ignorant. If they knew the benefit of you quitting this whole weight loss journey, they would understand if they knew what you're dealing with.
Yeah, that's very true.
So why don't you understand what you're dealing with and make the decision for you?
Yeah. Wow. So funny. For some reason, it just hits home when I talk to you, like, one-on-one. It's just, I mean, I don't know.
I know it's stuff you've heard before, but all of a sudden it's sinking in a little deeper, isn't it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
I mean, yeah.
So it really is a decision you need to make, but you need to do it in all seriousness. Like, okay, if I truly am going to be done with this forever, if I want permanent relief, not from my body, but from caring about it, permanent relief, you've got to accept it that you might get hit by a bus. You might lose your leg. You might get diabetes. You might lose, you might never have a child again. Those are all things that pressurize this desire for you to lose weight. And you've got to go into permanently accepting those risks that might not even be legitimate.
Right.
Or they are. You go into saying, if I accept this, that means I might never get pregnant again. No. Is it worth the freedom? If it means that you don't have to go through the insanity that you've just recently been through.
Yeah.
I think those the 2 dark days you had were for your benefit, to be honest with you. Like, really stop and think. What are you doing?
Yeah.
This is your life. What do you want to do with it? What do you want to do with your life? Do you really want food to be that important?
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm trying to help you think hard.
I know what it is. It just is really, I don't know. I just never have felt it like this before.
Feels good?
Or seen so clearly, I guess.
Well, you had to have been ready for this to be like, bam! You had to have been like ready for it. Like, you asked, you said your prayers and your prayers were answered. Here's your answer. You need to accept and love the body you're in. And you need to be okay with those rolls. Those rolls on your waist have a story.
Yeah.
Those didn't just show up. It was serious obsession over trying to be thinner that promoted all that. So do you really want to be obsessed over your body? Just accept that this is your ailment in this lifetime. And you're right. If this is it, you got out easy, man. Accept the obesity, sign the contract. I accept this body with the obesity, with whatever comes with that, forever. And then you inhabit this body. And then what? What do you do?
Have joy.
Maybe go for a walk, get in nature, right?
Yeah.
Go sit on a park bench and look at the trees. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. And I feel like I try to project this image of confidence and happiness and like, oh, I'm the stereotypical like chubby, funny person at work, and Abby doesn't have problems. She's so carefree, and when in reality, I'm just like,
they have no idea.
I've been faking it, and I feel like just letting go. If I just let that go, I feel like I would be that way for real. Like, it would be genuine.
Yeah.
Not that I feel like I'm a totally fake person.
No, but it wouldn't have that underlying river of dark horror, terror. You know, I know what you're talking about. It's like, here's the real me, but the pressure, the panic, they'd have no idea you're binging in your car on your way home because you've got to lose this weight and you want all that pressure. They have no idea that you're dealing with this crazy dark space underneath it all. And if you can just accept this weight right now, and the fact that you have to accept people are not going to understand, you're going to accept that people are going to think you're lazy. You're accepting all that shit, right? What happens?
I just have freedom.
Yes. Your life begins. It's like it's been since you were 8.
Yeah.
It's like the moment you abandoned yourself to this moment you accepted this life.
It's almost like
starting over, reincarnating. Here we go.
Yeah, it's like you're born again.
Yeah. And you're basically saying, I am okay with an obese body. I can handle this. I will accept this. I have a lot to do with that life. It's like saying you're about to be born as a paraplegic. Okay. Let's do something with this life. I can manage that. Not everybody can manage this.
Yeah.
You got it, girl. Go find some great clothes. And let it sink in. Let it really sink in. Like, what does this really mean? Well, it really means you may never have another child. It means that you may never, you'll never be thin again. Just go into the worst case scenario, because those are the things that are pressurizing you to lose weight. Those are the moments you go, I can't do it. I have to lose weight. Go there. Yeah. Face them and face them and face them. And then, honestly, when you accept all of those threats, because they're going to come up as threats. You can't handle it. No one's going to like you. You're never going to have a baby. Your mom's going to abandon you. You're going to be alone forever. Your husband's going to cheat on you. All that shit's going to come up.
Yeah.
Is it worth those costs for you to be set free?
Yes.
Right?
I mean, it's been pure hell ever since. I mean, unnecessary hell.
Correct. Until this choice gets to be made. And it is a choice. And trust me, someone that's going to hear this is going to go, Robin is enabling her. This is terrible. She's going to have diabetes and she's going to die. And you know what my thought process is? Wouldn't you rather have diabetes and just be free? Just give yourself, I know, right? That's because it's hard to quantify the horror, the depression, the darkness. That's hard to describe to people. How do you describe that? It's like worthy of suicide to me. I mean, I was suicidal in that space. I chose to kill myself.
I was just going to say that, I was, the only thing several times, I've had that thought, and I think if it wasn't for my son, I don't know. I mean,
it's horrible. It's like hell. It's like you are in hell, and it's worse than what you can imagine. Because it's in your psyche, right? It's in your soul space. It's like, and it's always there, and it's a terrible feeling. And everything you do every single thing you do is working to get rid of that feeling. So you're in hell trying to get rid of that feeling. Like the dark, it's just horrible. And so if it requires that you accept to get out of hell, you have to be morbidly obese, and you got to be okay with it. Would you sign the contract?
Give me the pin.
No shit, right? Like, holy crap, you got out easy.
Yes.
I know.
So lucky.
And then what?
That's the only thing, if that's the worst thing.
Right? And then you know what? And then you can go, well, if I can handle that dark space for 50 years, what can't I handle? For 30 years, what can I handle?
Yeah.
Give me life. I can handle it. I can handle people judging me. Oh my God, that's so much easier than that dark space of trying not to be judged.
Yeah.
It's just like, and you can forgive them because they don't know what that felt like. Yeah. You just, and the fact that you did yourself good by accepting your obesity and letting it be. It's the best thing you could have ever done for yourself.
And, and just the lack of just so much less stress and anxiety, that can't be bad.
Well, you can just feel it physically. You can feel when you went from one space to the next space, like instantaneous relief or instantaneous problems.
Yes.
Stomach hurting or
like
relaxed.
Just float away.
Yeah. So what happens to this pressure with food now? What happens to your, like, seriously, do you really want to, how do you want to relate to food? Do you really want to overeat? Do you want food to be that important in your life? Do you want food to be?
No, it's still the need for hunger.
Yeah, and enjoyment.
And
that's it.
Energy. Yeah.
So if you're nervous and you want to go to food, you got to pause it and go, hold on, I don't have to do that anymore. I'm going to face what I'm nervous about, So what you're doing by facing your fears with your weight is you're also facing your fears of all of life circumstances that you might have been hiding with food. So it's kind of like, if you can accept and face your fears of what you think obesity is going to do to your life, what happens to the rest of all those fears you've been using food to hide? That's nothing, man. Yeah. Ooh, boredom. Ooh, so scary. Yeah. You just don't feed into it anymore. Literally, you don't feed it.
Yeah. And my gosh, I mean, I just feel like, how much have I been holding myself back from? I mean, who knows what I could do without... I
know. You could have a PhD in like 5 different areas if you'd had all this energy put towards something else.
Right.
And you can change your mind all the rest of your life. You've got 5 years to do this. You can do so much. Just accept your weight, accept the body you're in, and do what you can with the life it's giving you. You've got so much opportunity, infinite. You can do anything you want with it. Plus, now you're an adult. You don't have to go to Weight Watchers with your mom.
Yeah.
You don't.
That's funny. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now it's just you. So if you can handle this, and you know as well as I do the freedom you get from just accepting it as it is. I accept the body moving forward with whatever, because it's providing me life. If I get hit by a car and I become a paraplegic, I can handle that. As long as I'm conscious and have something I can do with that consciousness. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
If I go blind, it will certainly be a challenge, but man, there's so much awareness to still experience. Right? Relationships to understand that have nothing to do with the look of the person. I want to hear what they want to say. I want to get to know the essence of them, not their way of looking.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's funny because my husband is so, like, he's so loving and accepting. Doesn't even look at me through a filter like I look at myself, and I just have not been able to understand that, and I just think he must be lying. There's no way that
it sounds like he is a huge part of why you're coming to this place right now. Imagine that meeting someone that loves you unconditionally, how that has made very rapid this progress that you're making right now. Right?
Yeah,
right? Like you kind of needed to have someone give you that space for you to actually get to a resolution with it. If you were dealing with him telling you had to lose weight, this would make it real hard, because that's like that's like codependency, like with your mom. But he's not, so it's really just you that's an asshole to yourself.
It is totally just me. Now, my first husband, he was an asshole.
Yeah.
He was very, very. Would tell me that I was eating too much. Would tell me that I gained weight.
And he had no freaking clue. Just clueless, right? You can go, well, you just like clueless.
Yeah.
And to him, you could hear that and go, well, yeah. I mean, most clueless people would assume those things, like.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it to me it sounds like the person that you're with now loves you. He loves the essence of you. He's gonna love you even if it doesn't matter if you. So he's kind of giving you the example of what you might want to start doing for yourself.
Yeah. He treats me like I wish that I could treat myself, or would have been treating myself.
Okay, well, if we get rid of the whole weight concept, I think that's really the main block for you.
It's what's left. Yeah.
So what is it going to take for you to love the essence of who you are and actually love this body for what it's done for you? without needing it to change its condition.
Just accept it.
Yeah. What do you need from this body? What do you really need?
Yeah.
Do you really need another baby? Or, I'm not saying that's not a want, but what do you really need? Well, you just need to be conscious. Okay.
Yes, and alive.
Right. Well, what can you do from there? It's a lot. There's a lot, right?
Yeah.
So in that space could be a potential child, but you know what? Let's not force it.
Yeah. Well, if it's not, there's always adoption, and we talked about that before.
Totally.
Totally up for that.
So why don't you stop trying right now? Just stop. You need to focus on loving yourself, being your real self, letting that girl free, let her live a life. And you know what? Have some sex in there and without protection. You know what I'm saying? And re-look at things in a couple years. Just Yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
It's like the cage's door is open. It's been open this whole time. You just never left. But I'm saying here it is. You can leave now. You want to leave now? That means you're going to be fat forever. That's the fear. But who cares?
Oh well.
Who cares?
Golly, wow. I just feel like I just took off old glasses and put on like a whole new way of looking at things.
You asked for a way out, and here you go. It's
so simple, but
certainly
so
isn't.
hard.
You need to lose weight first. No, I need to accept my weight first. Accept it. That's the last thing you ever would have thought. Never would have thought that. That's the only thing you've never done.
Yeah.
You've done everything but accept your weight.
Yeah. It's so crazy how that, like, really unwinding and taking apart that belief system of thinner is better. I don't know. It's just amazing to me that walking backwards through it really helps to, I don't know, just kind of helps you see how so stupid, so dumb, and just, I feel like it's almost funny. I mean, it's not, but I don't know, it's just so silly. And
well,
so
it's been such a huge block, right? It's just been a huge block for you.
Yeah.
But if you take a step back and just say, hey, all you got to do is just accept this permanently, forever. Permanent.
Yeah.
That's it. But then no one will. Yep.
And it makes me feel like so grateful. I mean, I feel so full of gratitude that I have a body that's healthy and that works, and that it is not perfect, but I'm alive. And
well, isn't that perfect right there? Isn't that perfect?
Yeah.
So it is perfect.
It is.
That's all it's doing. Yeah. It's doing it perfectly, to be honest with you. You're alive perfectly.
It is.
Why isn't that good enough? Why does it have to be beyond that? Why does it need to be this and that? Well, and some of that is because you wanted people to love you innocently, understandable from a child's perspective. But you know what? Should you have to live in total misery and darkness just to prove that your body's good enough for someone else to think it's attractive?
No, and that just makes me feel angry.
Well, you chose to do it.
Yeah.
So anger will get you nowhere other than you can choose to stop. Let people think that you're sucky. Let them feel that way.
Yeah.
There's karma they'll have for that. Right? Yeah. It's like you're the only one that knows that what you need to do to set yourself free. And honestly, if they knew that, that's what they'd want you to do.
Yeah.
That's what they'd want you to do. So do it. You know, that was something I realized with my own parents, and just my own personal struggle with wanting them to love me, is that I realized that if they knew the level of suffering I had been through, that they would truly want me to do what was necessary to remove that suffering. They did not want me to suffer. I knew that in my heart, and I had to honor what it was that would remove the suffering, even if it meant that I would be abandoning their belief systems to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot. What I just said is a lot, but it's so powerful. It is so powerful because it was like, for the first time, I'm honoring my parents. I've almost like, oh, I know what that means. Honor your father and mother. It is not about indoctrinating myself with their needs. It's about doing what will bring me joy, even if they don't get it.
Yeah.
And it's not about joy. It's freedom from this insanity.
Yes.
Which feels like joy when you're free from the insanity. It's like joyous.
Yeah. It feels like right now I feel like I've just chains cut loose and I can just
breathe
walk
and
freely.
breathe.
Yeah. Yes. I feel like weight's been lifted off my shoulders.
Yeah, because nothing needs to be done. Not one thing needs to change. Nothing needs to change.
No. And I feel like I can actually enjoy having sex and not be embarrassed of my body. And hey, we can leave the lights on.
Yeah, you're about to have some fun tonight, girlfriend. You go. Your husband's he's going to be like, you want to meet with Robin again?
I know. Yeah.
This is one of those YOLO moments. It's like, you're in your 30s. You just got married. Holy shit, go ahead.
Yeah.
Why can't you just be present in the amazingness of your life? Just be present in it. Enjoy this.
Yeah. Well, I will be able to, I think, now. I feel like, I don't know, just a new chapter. Wow.
So
I just cannot believe, I don't know, it just amazes me how much effort and time and energy I've wasted, but I didn't know any better. I mean,
and it took a lot of suffering for you to be open. So you could probably look back and go, oh, I needed those 2 days. I had to get there. Like this took a lot of work getting to this place.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't get that. And that's okay. You know, someone's going to hear this session at some point. Are you okay if I share this on that Patreon account? Okay. Someone's going to hear this and go, oh my God, it seems so easy. And they don't hear, however, how much suffering you went through to get to this conversation.
Yeah. Oh, I was that person that thought, oh my gosh, it's so easy. Why can't, I can do that. Oh, I can accept because, in Al-Anon, it's all about accepting. And I mean, that's just part of it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, this is like a whole other ballgame, trying to accept all of this. But
right, because so you don't even see the connection to the whole, like, surrender. Never thought you had to surrender thinness. You thought it was about food.
Yes, exactly.
It's not about food.
And even having heard that in all of the sessions that I've listened to, it still didn't sink into my heart. It's like it was in my head, but actually, like,
feeling it, like really feeling that freedom and opening yourself up to really, maybe it's just facing those fears. Maybe it was when I was like, you need to face the fear. No one's going to like you. You're never going to have a baby. Like, face those fears, look at them, breathe them into your lungs. Those are possibilities, whether you like them or not, whether you try to lose weight or not. Those are all possibilities. Let's just go there. That's a lot of time. That's like, people close their eyes to it. They're like, I'm looking at it, but they're covering their eyes. It's like, no, look at those fears because they're real. If it means freedom for you and freedom from this darkness, because you realize if you can't accept those things, you can't leave the cage. And if you do leave the cage, you always have to come back. Because I have to lose weight. And you know what? That might still happen. It might still happen. So, but now you know there is a way to get out. And it is through permanent acceptance. Permanent, unconditional. That your body deserves to be here. The life it provides deserves to be loved and honored and lived with. Whether it's fat, skinny, ugly, short. It's worthy. It is worthy of you loving this life. Even if you are fat or thin or tall or a paraplegic or blind. It's like, doesn't matter. It's a life that deserves to be lived.
Yes. And I feel excited. Just really excited to actually start my day, go to work tomorrow, and just really experience everything. It's like I just feel like I'm gonna see everything with new eyes. I don't know. I'm excited.
Good. Well, what I would suggest you do is solidify this. You need to contemplate this decision. Ask yourself wholeheartedly, can I accept this forever? The rest of my life. The rest of the life this body provides me. If it means that I am free to move on, to actually explore what life's about, are you willing to accept this body as it is? Today, tomorrow, the next day after that, permanently, forever. You know, you need to just contemplate that. And it is like signing a paperwork. It's like signing the divorce to the tenderness and accepting the beginning of this new life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as good as my life got after my last divorce.
Right? It should feel almost similar. It's like, oh, I'm divorcing thinness permanently. Yeah. How would that feel if we could just permanently let you, this, again, obsessing over your weight is not your life's purpose. It's not. Yeah. It never should have been. But yet it was, and now it's time to stop.